Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. How's everybody doing? We hope that you guys are excited for the NFL draft like we are. We got some episodes coming up right now where we're going to be previewing position by position on a lot of interesting draft potential profiles and how they can assist you in your 2026 fantasy football draft and bring you to that promised land that has been so elusive to so many of us for so long, including myself. But I digress, as I usually do. We got some good takes for you guys, unlike Dan Orlovsky's. I had to get that in the first minute. We love you, Dano. Keep on listening to the podcast. And if you're not, what are you doing? So unlike our ESPN fellowship over there, our brethren, we got some nice spicy takes for you guys for the 2026 pass catcher draft preview this episode. But before we jump into that, like we always do, we ask our loyal listeners to please follow us on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts, wherever you engage in your socials. We're there on every single social media like we always are. When we engage with our fans throughout the entire offseason as well. We're always looking for new fantasy content and football content to talk about. So please follow us on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. What else did I miss? Spotify and
Amazon.
There's so many of them nowadays. Like it's getting
iHeartRadio.
Just
follow us everywhere. Just
follow us everywhere. Exactly. Thank you, Nak. So like I said, we're looking at the top pass catchers in the 2026 draft class and landing spots that showed up the most amongst mock drafts. It's pretty cool, actually. And a lot of the player comps we're getting from Todd McShay, the GOAT, Todd McShay. Honestly, I like. Is it Dane Bulger? Is that his name? From
Dane Brugler.
Dane Brugler. He's great too.
Yeah.
But Todd McShay is really the GOAT when it comes to this stuff. So I guess without further ado, Roger's going to kick us off right now. We're going to jump into a wide receiver one at a time. And we're going to see where they're going, where they're mocked to, where they're going to end up, the nice spots. So, Roger, take it away, Raj.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Carnell Tate. So we use Mock Draft Database, great website to kind of see. It does a composite of all the mock drafts that are on the internet and where players are going to go. So I start off with Carnell Tate. He's the, I think, quintessential wide receiver one in this class out of Ohio State. I think one thing I really like about him is he has really good prototypical size, 6'2", 192. McShay comped him as Devontae Adams, and when I looked at his highlights, you see it. Not only the release at the line of scrimmage, but what really stood out the most was the contested catch. I think he had an 80% contested catch rate. If you look at all the highlights in the Big Ten, in the big moments, he goes up and gets it. So I love that about him. And even from a production standpoint, 51 catches, 875 yards, 17.2 yards per catch, 9 touchdowns. Even though the combine, the 40 wasn't great, I think he ran like 4.5 40. Yeah. You see the production, you see that ability to get the ball. So the mock draft scenario that we saw the most in mock draft database actually was to the Giants. At 5. I don't know. It might be too rich for the Giants. I know they're thinking maybe Jeremiah Love. There's been some talk about Stunny Styles. Maybe, God, if maybe one of the edge rushers, drops down, maybe they go edge again. I think from a complementary standpoint with Malik Neighbors, this would be awesome. This would allow him, Tate, to play X receiver. I see him as a prototypical X that could really set up on one side of the field and allow Malik Neighbors to maybe to move around a little bit more, maybe play off the line, maybe play even more so in the slot. We've seen Malik Neighbors get dinged up and get banged up over the past few years, or his first 2 seasons actually. So I actually think this would be a really good option for them, and they just lost Wan'Dale Robinson, obviously. So other teams that are showing up, the Browns, you're going to see the Browns a lot in my co-hosts with the some of the players they have. The Saints would be an interesting one too, with Chris Olave, with Tyler Shuck, with that offense. And the Rams, there's been talk about, Devontae Adams maybe being on the trade block. He's getting older. There's a lot of stuff going on with Puka Nacua. The Rams typically run an 11 personnel, so 3 wide receiver offense. That would be an amazing.
Could you imagine that?
Can
you imagine that? So Devontae Adams Jr., and then Puka in the slot. Who's stopping that offense?
Exactly. And the thing I like him the most about Tate, to me, he has the fewest question marks. I feel his worst case scenario is, still probably like a WR2. He might not necessarily be the alpha WR1 that you typically see, going, second, third overall, like a Justin Jefferson, and even he went 18, or more specifically a Jamar Chase. But I think he has a very, very high floor, and I think his ceiling is pretty decent as well. So this is a very good wide receiver class. Like, again, maybe no bona fide stars, but a lot of good secondary type WR2 players. So I love Tate. I think I would as a Giants fan, I would love if they drafted him.
What do Ohio State do very well?
Wide receiver factory.
Wide receivers,
absolutely,
man. Like, I would not be upset if the Giants draft him at 5. I really wouldn't. Opposite Malik Neighbors, all like you said, Roger. Like, I'm fully on board with this too, and I'm not too like, his stats don't jump off the page, right? But at the same time, the pedigree that exists with Ohio State wide receivers is all that you need, and totally. He's an alpha number 1. I'm fully on board, 100%.
Like we mentioned the other teams, and I'll let you guys go after with your players. But I mean, obviously the Giants, Cleveland, TBD. I know they need offensive line help. I don't see him getting past. Miami was one we didn't put on the graphic, but Miami was mocked quite a bit. I don't see him getting past Miami. Maximum, it would be Dallas. There's been some talk about Dallas as well with George Pickens on a franchise tag. So I think he goes top 12 for sure. And I think the best option would be the Giants from a production standpoint to really maximize his first year.
It's crazy. That would be what, 2 wide receivers and 3 drafts drafted in the top 5 for the Giants.
Yeah.
That's why I can't see it almost that they would draft a wide receiver this high. But man, it would make a pretty nice tandem with Malik Neighbors. That's for sure.
It's always been Harbaugh's Achilles heel, kind of figuring out that that second wide receiver. And they did sign Darnell Mooney, but is that the long-term answer?
Yeah.
Not too sure about that. Another really good wide receiver, another kind of bulldog type wide receiver, Knack. Talk to us about Makai Lemon.
Yes, he was the 2025 Milenkoff winner, best wide receiver in college football. A little bit undersized for a wide receiver, 5'11", 195 pounds. But he had a huge breakout year last season, 79 receptions, almost 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. Big Ten leader in receiving TDs, with 10. And he had 502 yards after contact. After catch, sorry. Also led in first downs with 49. And breakout game was against Rutgers, 256 all-purpose yards, and also led the I believe he led the Big Ten in return average as a returner, 27.1 yard average. So this guy kind of has like trickster also kind of in his game. He's being comped to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think we've talked about it off pod that's like the perfect comparison to Makai Lemon. He's got his strengths to me has got to be elite hands and contested catches. So he had catch rate of 87% and 10 for 15 on contested balls in 2025. As you mentioned, he is a yak monster, and his versatility. So he's a slot ace for sure. Like, he's going to be a slot guy in the NFL for sure, and he can return kicks. So he's definitely got a two-way game to him. The only weaknesses I kind of see is he struggles a bit with press coverage off the line. So with physical CBs, but he might not hit. He will not have to worry about the top guys if he's playing directly in the slot. His run blocking is not as great. He's got inconsistent technique and kind of shows occasional disinterest in run blocking. So that might be we know how NFL head coaches don't like that. He definitely, like I said, bottom line, he's a yak king. He's like I know we said Amon-Ra St. Brown, but even Jordyn Tate comp to me seems pretty legit. And he's honestly, if he goes to an offense, he's going to thrive in an offense that has a lot of motion and honestly, you could use this guy anywhere, and he's going to be very shifty. And like I said, 49 first downs, so he gets open and he moves the chains.
USC has a type in
But,
terms of their wide receivers. Like this is like the comp to St. Brown is a perfect one, and they've had similar type of wide receivers before, like Michael Pittman Jr. and bigger obviously, but even Drake London, yes, bigger but physical, and like I find he's a physical style of Amon-Ra St. Brown, shorter and smaller, not as like athletic as a burner. But I really liked watching his highlights. Sorry, Fab. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, I just wanted to know, Nak, would you be able to give us a Makai Lemon interview impression before we move on? Where is he gonna go, man?
Raj is doing pretty well.
Best wide receiver in the league. No, I'm a Ross St. Brown.
Funny enough, he's being mocked mostly to the Rams. So I know you mentioned, Raj, the issues with Puka Nacua, so they might need another slot receiver to come in and play for them. But also seeing a lot of Jets, a lot of Dolphins, a lot of Saints. This definitely has Dolphins and Jets, I think, written all over it. But because I don't think
being the best option. Like aside from the Rams, I think like the Rams is like the perfect option for any wide receiver. Like where do you think is the best option for him?
I think the Jets would be nice because Geno Smith did have a lot of success with Jackson Smith-Njigba, who played the slot, whatever. Yeah. So he could use potentially a receiver like that in that offense to help him out. So I definitely do see a good fit with the Jets.
Yeah, I like it.
We want to keep this party moving with who do you got here? Mr. Jordyn Tyson.
Yeah, Jordyn Tyson. Listen, probably the most polarizing wide receiver, I think, in the first round. I don't think anyone's going to dispute the skill set that he has, the quality of the prospect that he is. But there's definitely a high ceiling versus high risk with Jordyn Tyson, just for the injury aspect, right? I mean, so right off the bat, like this guy comes off as a bit of a blend of Omar Cooper and Stephon Diggs. Like he really has that polished route running skills. Great with separation. He's really viewed as a true wide receiver one, and with that type of skill set, he's not just really a role player. So this is really going to be a QB's go-to option from I guess from a production standpoint, right? I mean, if you look at the last 2 years and the last 2 seasons, 136 yards, 1,800 yards, 136 catches, 1,800 yards, receiving 18 touchdowns. So this guy's a red zone threat. He's a chain mover. He's going to be featured in basically every single possible target package in NFL offense, right? So there is that wide receiver one ability that exists right there. And he's looking really as a mid-first round pick. So you guys, you look at spots like the Jets at 16, the Browns at 20, obviously, is a good spot for him to go. But durability is the biggest question mark, and I mean it's the biggest red flag. This guy's missed 33% of his college games due to injuries, and we're talking about injuries like knee injuries, collarbone injuries, and recently hamstring problems. And the hamstring problems, to me, when it comes to wide receiver, are the ones that I'm most scared of. And I'm sure that this is going to take a knock on his draft capital, I think, on night one. And he also skipped the combine because of his testing injury and all that stuff. So these are all realistic considerations that teams are going to have to think about when they get to call his number, because although the talent is there, how serious are these injuries concerned, and will they lead on into the pros and all that, right? Which is pretty much a realistic consideration for any team, I think. But considering the injury history that Jordyn Tyson has had, and it's unfortunate because he seems to be like projected as a potentially high end wide receiver one. We're talking about elite route runner with excellent comps to Stephon Diggs and Amari Cooper, right? So at the same time, like, where would I like him to go? I think the Miami Dolphins is a perfect spot for him, considering the fact that they're also void of wide receivers right now. They do have a new quarterback, and Jordyn Tyson being there could add a little bit of stability in the wide receiver room. I like that spot a lot for him. And you think about the wide receiver that he could be. I mean, assuming that he's perfectly healthy and there's no injury issues and all that stuff. Like, let's just work within a nice bubble over here. I think it would be great for who's the new quarterback?
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis. Thank you.
Forgot about him already.
I forgot about him already. Well, the guy's only played
No
like
one,
3
he
games
has no one to play with.
I think it'll be a very, very nice addition to that team.
The fact the durability thing concerns me. You know what else concerns me? You don't really see wide receivers going in the first round who've played 4 years. Like, he's been in college for 4 years. He only really broke out after the third and the fourth, and that fourth year again, he missed like 3 or 4 games, right? So
yeah,
that concerns me as well. One of the things and again, like I'm not like a huge tape watcher, but one of the things I saw from a scouting report perspective is that he tends to dance around a lot at the line, kind of like Nak. You remember like Deontay Johnson, like almost like an end one crossover type guy, like just. And that kind of messes up your timing.
Deontay Johnson used to go backwards too when he caught the ball.
Yeah. Stevie Johnson, if you guys remember, Stevie Johnson used to do that a lot. So that was kind of a bit of a negative where if you're able to cross the guy off, like out, like he's gone, right? Like forget it. But that's not going to happen in the NFL. Like, you're going to get jammed at the line. Like, they're not going to fall for that like N1 mixtape type release at the line. So I think it's important also to like talk about what are the worst case scenarios for these guys, because yes, a lot of them are. We could have 5 wide receivers in the first round, but not all of them are going to be good in year one. Like, as much as we think like,
no,
okay, like, these are great comps, right? Like, there's going to be some worst case scenarios with them, and it's kind of trying to see which ones have the highest floor as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, in Todd McShay's mock draft, they have the Rams trading up into the 13th pick with Atlanta to actually draft him. So there is, even though the durability is a big question mark over there, but like you throw him into that offense, and I feel like that would probably be the best case scenario for him. I mean, I think it would be the best case scenario for any single wide receiver to go to the Rams offense. But considering the injury history, like they can afford to have him like not necessarily play all the games right away, and then he sort of like eases into it and he gets healthy enough and all that stuff.
Like that.
So like that could be super interesting. And again, like injuries are always going to be there, and it could just be something that happened in college, and then maybe when he gets to the pros, because he's in a professional facility and all that stuff. I'm just saying the professional facilities and all that, I think that is legit.
Those facilities are a lot of the times better in college. Yeah, okay.
Do you think the Arizona State's facility is better than the LA Rams' medical facility?
No, Nak is right. There's some facilities in college they put a ton. Like, look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are like the worst team in the league in terms of facilities, and probably even the Steelers. I'm sure the Steelers are terrible from a facility standpoint.
They still have wood lockers.
Yeah.
But the doctors, man, know. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents. I think the Rams would be very interesting. So I think it's still me, right? So moving on from Jordyn Tyson, we're going to go on to honestly a quite completely different profile in Omar Cooper Jr. So the guy's like basically a yak monster. That's pretty much his calling card. He's been described as one of the toughest receivers to bring down. He's pretty much a catch and run weapon in the modern offense. He's built like a little compact tank, as I like to call him. The guy's 6 foot, 199 pounds, and has a 4.42 speed. So he's not catching passes. He's like turning 8 yards into 20, which is really the thing that, a lot of offenses are going to look for. So he's great with contested catches, traffic situations, has strong hands, physical route finishes. And he's been obviously, and this is not a surprise, I suppose, he's been really compared to Debo in that regard too. We have other comps to Jarvis Landry as well. So you're looking at a really high volume slot option, and really a safety blanket for that wide receiver. His stats coming out of 2025 is 70 receptions, 961 yards, 13 touchdowns. So really a strong balance and body control throughout contact. He does lack elite top end speed, but he's highly reliable, and he would be an excellent slot weapon in that West Coast type of offense. So he's more of a lower end wide receiver 1 pick. And you look at who's drafting towards the end of the first round. I mean, you have the Eagles that can always use a wide receiver, especially now what's going on with A.J. Brown. You have the Browns, who are picking again in the first round, but like later on. They have Buffalo at 26. And imagine pairing this guy with Josh Allen, like that reliable slot receiver. I mean, I don't know, man. Like that sounds
And DJ
very
Moore.
nice to me. And DJ Moore, like you're talking about an offense that just completely transformed in one offseason. And you have Josh Allen throwing the ball to what seems to be a very reliable slot receiver and great yak great yak guy. And you have DJ Moore to take the top off the defense. Could be interesting.
I like that one.
The Eagles being there is interesting as well. Kind of, if you think of like his type of profile, it's similar to AJ Brown. You know, does that are we thinking there might be an AJ Brown trade, maybe in the later parts of the offseason? This type of wide receiver, though, kind of, for like from a 1 to 3 year perspective, they always look really good. But it reminds me of Debo, where they run themselves really, really heavy, and then at some point you got to be able to run actual routes. You can't just be a crossing route, like run over people type of guy. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes, and that could be from a dynasty perspective. Maybe his ceiling isn't as high, but you could see him being good for the first like two or three years.
Yeah. So again, not to go back to Todd McShay all the time, but he has been mocked at 16 to the Jets.
Yeah,
which is high considering that we just mentioned you should go in the draft in the lower end of the first round. I mean, again, this goes to show you that as far as mockers are concerned, like we like to think that we know what we're talking about. Not that we like to think we know we like to think we know what's going to happen, but on draft day, we have no idea. So I wouldn't even be surprised if this guy drops into the second round and makes some team very, very happy at the top of the second.
He was, I think it was McShay's, probably one of his, like, from I listened to McShay's pods, like one of his favorite wide receivers in this class. He really likes and is very high on Omar Cooper Jr. Another guy who also played 4 years as a wide receiver, really only like big breakout year, the senior year, like this past year where they just won the championship. So,
if I can just interject for a second, the more we've been doing this, ladies and gentlemen, this is year 3 now that we're doing this, and I think we're all getting a little more acclimated. What I've appreciated the most whenever we do draft reviews and like prospect reviews and all that stuff, the players that have a lot of college tape and a lot of college games underneath their belt. It just sounds like the safer and pick that just makes sense. Like you want these guys to get reps in college that when they come to the NFL, they're a much more polished product. And the guys that they play there for 4 years, sign me up. To me, that is a massive, massive benefit.
Yeah. Especially for quarterback. Yeah. I think there's 2 ends of that spectrum. And I do agree with your point. I think the flip side could be that, like, if they didn't go earlier, then
Tyler Shuck played 7 years.
Is there?
Yeah, but that's a QB. QB needs to stay longer. I think a wide receiver is more of a bigger red flag staying longer in college.
Yeah. Like, is there like a lack of upside? Is there like I could see both ends of the spectrum though.
Fine. I can understand that perspective. I do, but I'll never think that having too many games under your belt, especially it's like your first year that you're declaring, is like a negative. I don't know. That's just me. Mind you, it also helped that his quarterback was future first overall pick and future quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Did you forget his name?
Fernando Mendoza.
Fernando, I'm open to work Mendoza.
Yeah, seriously.
I will continue along with Mr. Denzel Boston. This is one of my favorite receivers in the draft coming out of Washington. He is a beast of a human at 6'4", 212 pounds. This is your prototypical X receiver. His stats don't, necessarily jump off the page. Last year, 62 catches, 881 yards, and 11 touchdowns, though. This guy, all he does is score touchdowns. Signature plays, it's high point fades, contested grabs. This guy is literally your number one guy. He had that big LA Bowl game against Boise State, 6 catches, 126 yards. That 78-yard TD bomb he had was a thing of beauty. Strengths of his, I would say, is catch radius, 32-inch arms, elite contested catches. He has a 61% career rate on contested catches. Sorry, he's sure-handed, only 3.1% drop rate, should I say? So fights for yards after catch, definitely a chain mover. This is like your sandpaper type receiver, also that like you want on your team, and he's just a red zone like red zone king, spatial awareness and body control. Like he's just a TD magnet. This guy, he gets into the end zone. The only thing he's kind of lacking, little bits of speed and explosiveness, so not really like elite speed or burst, and less effective actually in zone coverage. Prefers the man-to-man matchup. So I guess depending on what kind of defenses he's playing week in and week out. But honestly, bottom line, big X receiver. He kind of reminds me of. I know McShay has him comped to Michael Pittman and Cortland Sutton. He kind of reminds me of Mike Williams, also that big touchdown behemoth type of
One-trick pony.
receiver. Yeah, hopefully he's not one of that, but he's likely he'll feast in like play action, red zones. Honestly, a team that's like lacking in red zone TDs, like a team named the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is one of the guys I really hope they go and grab. I think he's in the realm there. In I know he's looking like he's in that 16 to 31 range, and you have mostly being mocked to the Browns, but like every player is being mocked to the Browns, every wide receiver. But then you got also the Jets. The Bills would be an interesting one as well, but that would probably signal the end of Coleman if Denzel Boston is drafted there, in my opinion. The Dolphins also, if they go with their later pick, maybe the Dolphins go ahead and can get him late. They obviously need wide receiver help as well, but big boy, one of my favorites coming out of the draft.
I feel like he needs to go to a situation where he's a WR2, not like the Dolphins. I don't know if that's the best option for him. I feel like he needs to be like an X receiver that kind of draws attention, so that someone underneath can eat. Reminds me of I don't know if you guys remember. Well, remember he's from last year's draft, but he has Jaden Higgins vibes for me with the Texans.
Oh,
like 6'4", big body guy.
That.
Yeah,
I like that. I agree with that, Raj, 100%. I think he should be going to a team where he'll be the very reliable wide receiver too, for the exact reasons that you mentioned. So that's why I don't really know. Yeah, the Steelers make a ton of sense. He'd be wide receiver 3 at the moment right now, right? But still, there wouldn't be too much to be asked of him. I can see it even working in Philly. I can see it working in Philly, to be honest with you, man. Like, especially with like Devontae Smith eventually will take over the role over there, and we can't forget how good of a wide receiver he really is. And you
like that.
Pair that with Denzel Boston, like that's also legit. Especially if, again, this is all contingent that AJ Brown is on his way out. But
I think their draft is going to be very telling to what happens to AJ Brown. That's like it's going to be the we say it's the worst kept secret, but their draft is going to be the worst kept secret after it's done with.
What's the dead cap on AJ Brown?
I'm not sure, but it significantly lowers after June 1st.
After June 1st,
that's the reason why. And you can't. It's not like when you drop a player and you give him a post June 1st designation, so that you keep the cap on until June 1st, and then it comes off, and then your cap hit comes off. Because it's a trade, you have to take on. You can't like poach that dead cap until then. Like the team trading for him has to take on that full cap, and the team that's trading him has to take on his whole dead cap.
Got it. Trading AJ Brown before June 1st, which also I'm assuming if you cut AJ Brown June 1st, same implications apply. $43.5 million in dead cap hit. You trade him after June 1st for 16.4.
Yeah, that's why they're not trading. That's why they're not trading him before.
Yeah, so it's
be very telling, you're right.
There's a lot of I think June 1st is a big day for a lot of contracts, if I'm not mistaken. Like even guarantees and all that. So I think there's still gonna be. I think they're gonna see a lot of movement around that time.
It's because a lot of roster bonuses are paid out in March, so it significantly lowers it after.
And unless you play for the Detroit Lions and you're clawing back your roster bonuses.
But they've been doing that forever. They've done that to Barry Sanders. They've done that to Megatron. Yeah, they paid them their guarantees, and then they retired, and then they asked for the money back. Like your franchise players and you're asking for money back. I can't believe
Your
they did
your
it.
guys are going to be your ambassadors for the next like 20
Yeah,
years, even if
exactly.
they retire. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
Like,
crazy.
it's
well, not anymore.
crazy.
Not unless you pay me, I'll be
Crazy.
an ambassador.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right. So
Raj,
so we'll move on to Mr. Kenyon Sadiq. He was the darling of the combine. He broke the record for the 40 time at tight end at 4.39. I believe, I think it was Vernon Davis who had it previously, but not just the 40 time. He had a 43.5 vertical jump, an 11 foot broad jump, 26 reps on the bench press. If you are following on YouTube and you see the picture of Kenyon Sadiq right now, he looks like Jax from Mortal Kombat. Like he's yoked, man. He is yoked. What's interesting though is like when you typically see those types of profiles, you assume, you know, not a willing blocker, more of a move tight end, not an inline tight end, but he's a quite physical player, has pretty good blocking willingness to get down and dirty and play in line. So from a production standpoint, very solid. 51 catches, 560 yards, 11 yards per catch, 8 touchdowns. So in college or obviously in the NFL, he's going to be used as an absolute mismatch. McShay had him as more of a even more athletic Brock Bowers with potentially better blocking. I comped him more so as like I just saw Vernon Davis. Like I'm sure you guys remember that combine that Vernon Davis had. He was an athletic marvel, and even Jonnu Smith. Jonnu is like one of the most athletic tight ends that has ever been in the league. The issue being that he's a bit of a bonehead from a just like plays perspective, and he's a 0 as a blocker. Like he is not going to play in line. So I think the ceiling is very high for Sadiq. He could be a high end tight end 1. Obviously depends where it goes, but from a mock perspective, where he's been mocked the most according to the mock draft database is to the Panthers at 19. That would be an awesome get, pairing him with Tedero McMillan, Jalen Coker. Let's see what happens with Xavier Legette, but I love that pairing with him and McMillan. And there's a lot of other interesting teams where he's been mocked to. Obviously the Chiefs, that would be interesting as a eventual Travis Kelce replacement. The Rams, we saw some good stuff out of Cody Parkinson and the
Tyler Higbee.
Higbee and Ferguson, I believe. Terrence Ferguson, who I believe also went to Oregon. And then there's the Ravens, who just lost Isaiah Likely. They still have Mark Andrews. Again, they gave Mark Andrews that huge contract explicitly. The Buccaneers and then the 49ers as well. 49ers is an interesting one because of George Kittle and his injuries. So the thing with the tight end is maybe the positional value might be too high at 19 because from what the scouts are saying, they don't see him as a Tyler Warren or even a Colston Loveland compared to last year. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. He'll definitely go first round for sure. A lot of the reports I read and the scouting I read says that they still see like Loveland as a higher pick and even Warren. So
apparently Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette said that the Steelers are doing their homework on him, and if he falls to them, there's a shot that they grab him.
There's gonna be an interesting market on him, man.
I think exactly. That's what I think. He's like the wild card of the draft because he could go as high as like top 10, and then he could go as low as 30.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're sorry, Fab, I don't mean to cut you off, but like the amount of teams running 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets has increased exponentially over the past year. So just because you have a tight end doesn't behoove you to draft another one. Like especially you have this type of guy who could play in the slot, could play out wide, could play in line, pairing with your other tight end. Like man, imagine the Raiders draft him. Holy moly, that would be insane.
That would be insane.
Stupid. No, that'd be stupid.
Insane.
No,
that'd be stupid. No,
but do they have 2 firsts? They have 2 firsts?
They have are they 16? Are they on 16?
No, they only have the first.
No, they have 1. Sorry. No. They have to trade up. They'd have to trade up.
They have to trade up.
They have 36, which is like the 4th pick in the 2nd round. Yeah, they only have 2 picks in the first 2 rounds. I thought they'd have more. You know what I thought interesting for Sadiq?
Yeah, because Max Crosby went back there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right. That's true.
Yes,
They
it's
were
true.
supposed to have
Yes.
14 and
Yeah,
1.
that's it. Yeah.
That would have been crazy. Mendoza and Sadiq, the first
Yeah.
round. That'd be a crazy draft.
Well, you know what also be crazy? Sadiq going to the Eagles in replacement for Dallas Goedert, who just
Oh, no.
re-signed, I think, like 1
1 year
year.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be
so that would
very
be very
nice.
interesting. And it's likely that he falls there. And also, I saw potentially to the Chargers too. Chargers have never had a good tight end for a while now.
Well, they just
They've
drafted
got
that
some.
guy, that Gatson.
Yeah, but Gatson is fine.
But
Okay.
again, but again, like they did sign a blocking tight end. And I don't remember the name, so you never know. Again, like the way teams run 2 tight end sets, every team's a possibility. Even the Browns. I mean, they have Fannin,
and he's also a
Charlie
specimen.
Kohler.
Charlie Kohler. Yeah, exactly.
He's a specimen.
Charlie Kohler from the Ravens.
Yeah, exactly.
Ravens have no tight ends, eh? And they have like an injured Mark Andrews, and that's it. They should be drafting Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the honorable mentions, Zach.
Yeah, I'll get to the honorable mentions right before the end here. We have Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M, so comping him to Luther Burden. Most common mock places have him going to the 49ers, the Steelers, the Bills. I also saw a lot of Kansas City for him as well. Elite yak ability, slot weapon, Shanahan style fit. He did have an issue with drops though in college, 19 drops in college. So definitely got to fix that up. Then you've got Zachariah Branch out of Zachariah Branch out of Georgia. So comps, I have him as Zay Flowers and Marvin Mims type player. Most common, Patriots, Broncos, even the Giants, if they trade back into the first round, if they didn't get their receiver. Explosive playmaker, gadget, motion weapon. So that's why I kind of see the Marvin Mims comparison, and massive big play upside. He's one of those big plays waiting to happen. And then we'll end it off here with Elijah Surratt out of Indiana. My comparison would be Keenan Allen. Possession receiver, big frame, chain moving target. So those are all the traits you hear of when you hear Keenan Allen. He was a chain mover his whole career. Most mocks have him going to the Pats, Broncos, and Browns as well. Obviously, the Browns back on that on the most commonly mocked. Out of these 3 guys, who's your favorite?
Casey Concepcion.
Concepcion.
Yeah, he was potentially being mocked to the Giants in the second round, and I was like looking at some tape of him and all that. I like him a lot. Like that. I'd be very happy with that especially from a yak perspective and a slot weapon. After we lost Wandale in free agency, I'd be very happy with Casey Concepcion.
Elijah Surratt for me, 15 touchdowns in his senior year. The chemistry he had with Mendoza was insane, and they looked amazing together in Indiana. So he would be the one for me. I like those types of wide receivers, like possession guys, big frames. We could get the back shoulder catches.
And speaking of the Raiders, if they could get him with the 4th pick in the second round, pairing him with Mendoza, slam dunk. Like right there, your draft is already, like lights in a way the best draft.
100%.
Yeah. That'll do it, guys, for another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. That was the pass catchers coming up in the 2026 draft. We will see you in 2 weeks when we take on another position, maybe the running backs, maybe the QBs. You'll have to wait and see.
Maybe at the same time.
Maybe at the same time. Got to tune in.
Tune in to find out more.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Holy ass Batman.
I looked at if you compare it to last year's class, I think this class is better.
Yeah, last year's class was not that great.
Well, last year McMillan and then Golden was not very good.
Yeah,
Burden came on. Obviously,
it was very
Burden was at the end. Burden came on later. The tight ends were really good last year.
Yeah,
tight ends were the steal of the class of the show of the steal of the class of all that stuff last year.
That's when it's the Pab's tired.
I have to have supper. You know how
the
it is.
steal
with
of the
me.
class of
The steal of the class of the show, which is switch on the other foot when the tables have turned.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Peace out.
Goodbye.